Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, he sold my birthday present, so I made him buy back his tech. Be a jerk, fine. I'll take your party. Bully my ref, become a laughing stock. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. He sold my birthday present, so I made him buy back his tech. This is a kind of old bit of revenge. Think when PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 were still new. And when I was learning the hard way, again, about dating total puesses. BF at the time, I would learn later, was a complete turd. Absolute POS. But I had no self-esteem and he paid me compliments, so I ended up dating him. Learn quickly, girls, preferably in your early teens, compliments do not equal good guy. Anyway, he was a jerk and I was grateful. For my birthday, my parents bought me an Xbox 360, or rather, they put £150 for birthday and Christmas towards me getting said console. BF fronted the rest. It lived at his house because he had a better TV. He had given me his old PSP because he had also just bought a PS3, and it came with a lot of accessories and games. A few weeks pass and he sold the Xbox, reminder, partly my Xbox and a present from my folks, and bought himself a new iPhone. He had also asked for his PSP back, but his mum reminded him that it was a gift, so he backed off about it. A few weeks after that, yeah, I know, I didn't dump him the second he sold my console, but people with no self-esteem take an obscene amount of shit. I found out he was cheating on me. He worked in the Brit equivalent of GameStop at the time, so I sold his PSP, and all its bits, piece by piece, to the shop he worked in. Admittedly, I didn't get much for it, but I did get to enjoy his co-workers grinning as they bought it all. He had pissed a few people off there too. I also got to enjoy knowing that it would have cost him more than £150 to get all the bits back. Yes, it may have been petty, but it was satisfying. He definitely deserved that and more. Not only did he sell your Xbox, but he also cheated on you? I hope he is alone and miserable. You deserve way better. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I'm shocked I tell you, to hear he was treating his co-workers similar to how he was treating you. I bet they got almost as much enjoyment out of your revenge as you did. Nicely executed. He was probably the guy who never covered other people's shifts. Not really surprised, TBH. He is a POS. He must have manipulated Opie to get with her, but of course his true colors are going to show sooner or later. His own mother put him in his place. That's a clue that he's a total piece of shit. I read the title as "Buy Back His Teeth" and thought this was gonna take a lot more wild of a turn. I read the same thing about teeth. Should I make an eye doctor appointment for you while I'm making one for myself? For someone who plays a lot of games, you'd think he wouldn't be so bad at the game of life. Kudos to you. What a POS he is. You should still bug him for the $150 since you owned part of the Xbox. Tell his mom on him. Good for you. Hindsight is 20/20, isn't it? By the way, he stole the Xbox. It wasn't his to sell even if he paid a portion of it. Glad you got revenge selling all the PSP bits. Dogs hit returns on cash trade-ins, but the revenge is satisfying. Be a jerk, fine. I'll take your party. Backstory. I live in an urbanized area. Most people's only option is street parking, as most residences do not have private driveways. A guy recently, last 6 months, moved into the apartment building across the street and is running his construction business out of it. He owns 4 large trucks, 3 with out-of-state plates and 1 in-state commercial plate. Because he's so inconsiderate, he double parks his trucks so he can get in and out of spots easily and takes up about 7 spots total, completely everyone else over that lives in the neighborhood. Last week I asked him to be considerate of the rest of the neighborhood since he's always parking like an asshole. In those words verbatim. I understand you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, but *ck him at this point. He shrugged me off and left his cars double parked. That night he was throwing a get-together where he and about 10 others were all drinking in lawn chairs in the sidewalk, blasting music out of one of the vehicles. Cue petty revenge. Multiple calls to police about public intoxication and excessive noise levels led to multiple tickets being issued. Soon calls to get commercial plates ticketed and towed for overnight parking is next on the list. Might be worth checking local ordinances. In some places it would be illegal to run something like a construction business from a residential zoned area. Isn't it funny? All you have to do is not be an asshole. Oh, sorry man, didn't realize I was taking away from so many people. Problem solved, no issues. But nope, he's the main character. Could always make a FB page dedicated to his shittiness, including his business name. The tagline could be, when R&D Construction starts being a good neighbor, this FB goes away. I understand you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Nope. Report the vehicles with out-of-state plates. He is dodging vehicle registration, which typically must be done in 30 days. If you get his vehicles towed, the problem goes away. So he has a business. Does he have a website? Email? Phone hashtag? Lots of things could be done with those. Also bad reviews on review sites. The website isn't actually registered and the business phone number is his cell. I'm not trying to destroy the guy's business, I just want him to stop parking like an asshole. It's supposed to be petty revenge, not destroy someone's life revenge. People in this sub are so reasonable. My first instinct is usually arson. Unreasonable people are by definition assholes. Should double check what the law is about getting your vehicle registered after living so long in a new state. In most states that I am aware of, you usually have 30 days to re-register your vehicle in your new state. 3 trucks with out-of-state license plates conducting business in that state can also land him in a fair amount of trouble. He thinks what he's doing is fine. So fines are what he gets. Fun fact, despite the popular saying, vinegar is actually a much better attractor for flies. Bully my ref, become a laughing stock. I was sharing this story with friends on the weekend and they suggested posting it. TL, DNR, an adult screamed at a teenage referee for no good reason and I got him laughed off the pitch. Back when I, M38, was in my mid-20s, the person who organized referees for minor soccer in my community retired from the volunteer position. Being the longest-serving referee there, I was asked to take over the position, which I gladly did. I was happy to take on the role because my father was the convener for the league and had taught me to ref while he was the head referee in a neighboring community. When I came back home after school, I settled a couple towns away and decided to stay involved. I never scheduled myself for games so I could step in if someone wasn't able to make it. The result was that, most weeknights from May to August, I would be at the local pitches, just a block from my house. Aside from being on site in case of an emergency, this also allowed me to guide newer referees if they ran into trouble. One such night, I was watching 2 games being played. One was a U12 match, 10 and 11-year-old players, refereed by a 17-year-old young lady we will call Nikki, who had just started as a referee. It was a muddy night, so she was calling a tight game as to not encourage reckless play, as is taught at every reffing certification I've ever been to. One of the visiting coaches, let's call him Coach Chad, felt she was calling too much and being too by the book and yelled at her through the entire first half of the game. Nikki saw me at halftime and came to ask if she was doing okay. Since she started, I told her that referees aren't perfect, but it's important to be confident in your calls regardless. I also told her that the pitch is her responsibility and she can remove anyone, especially coaches, for being disrespectful. The second half started with Coach Chad back yelling until, at a stoppage, Nikki reminded him it's a game for kids and she didn't want to have to ask him to leave. Coach Chad didn't take kindly to that and then made the mistake of entering the field to challenge Nikki. After seeing the worst from parents through reffing for a decade, I had no interest in losing another referee to this kind of abuse or seeing the situation get worse, so I slapped on my badge on and walked across the field. Also, where I am, entering the field is the equivalent to waking on the ice during a hockey game to talk to the ref. It's not done. Coach Chad, who had no idea who I was, looked relieved to have me walking across the field, which immediately made me realize he isn't just an asshole, he's likely a sexist as well. I asked what was going on. Coach Chad, she doesn't know what she's doing. Nikki, I'm call. Coach Chad, she won't let the kids just play the game. She calls every small infraction. I want her reported. At this point, I was furious because Nikki was a good ref and was keeping the game safe and calling the advantage properly. Coach Chad just didn't like his team/kid having to follow the rules. I explained to Nikki I'd chat with her in a moment and gave Coach Chad the contact information and name for the head referee, me, then told him to call after the game as the head referee was busy until then. He walked away happy. I then told Nikki to keep going as she had, as Coach Chad just thought he could bully her due to her age. I grabbed my gear and sat right between Coach Chad and the parents of both teams and filled out my part of an incident report for the league while the game went ahead. Either the exchange or my presence had a calming impact on Coach Chad. Sure enough, as soon as the game had ended, Coach Chad came over to the stands, got his phone from, I'm assuming, his partner, and started to make a phone call. My cell and my bag rang, and I answered it while walking over to him. He started BSing about the game and Nikki until he heard me in stereo as I came up beside him. He was angry, telling me I was going to be sorry when the real head referee found out what I'd done. At this point, the home coach came over to see what was going on. Chad asked him who the head ref was. The home coach looked puzzled and said Phoenix Dawn. Chad looked smug and asked me my name, which I told him. The home team coach was more puzzled at this point, but some of the home team parents started snickering. I smiled, taking my opportunity to go on the offensive, and said if he ever treated a perfectly capable referee the way he did that night again, I'd know, because the refs in the league across all the centers keep in touch. I then told him to leave my pitch. He got more angry and said he was going to complain to the league, at which point more of the parents started laughing, knowing my father would be the one to take the call and run the review. This made Chad angrier. At this point, I was feeling pretty good, but the universe wasn't done with Chad yet. The piece de resistance came minutes later when he realized he left his clipboard and team balls on the bench and came back to get them. Instead of hiking around a knee-high barricade, he tried to step over it and slipped and fell, leading to all the children on both teams laughing as he landed face-first in an inch-deep mud puddle. From what my dad told me, Chad quit coaching after that year. I used to ref kids when I was in high school. The head of the refs was also a coach of one of the teams. During a game I was reffing and he was coaching, he was getting upset his team was being outplayed and was verbally attacking me and the kids on the other team for what he thought were bad calls. I talked with him at a stoppage and basically gave him a verbal warning. The attacks continued. I gave him a yellow card. He continued after the yellow, so I gave him a red card and made him leave. Per rules, he wasn't allowed to watch the remainder of the game. He went into a bowling alley that was beside the pitch. About 15 minutes later, I see him standing outside watching the game. I call a stoppage and call the remaining coaches from both teams onto the field to speak with them. I talk to them with my back to the bowling alley and invite them to look over my shoulder and see the coach standing there watching. They all acknowledge they see him and I inform them that he has violated his red card and just forfeited the match. I fill out the league reports and he acknowledged his mistake. Even told me I did the right thing. He apologized and stepped back as a coach. If you're in America, threatening violence on referees is a felony offense. My now wife had a similarly aggressive coach try that when she was 17. When she pulled out her phone, she told him that he could either get arrested and forfeit the right to vote at the time, or he could get a red card and leave the field completely. He chose the latter and slunk out like a whipped dog. I have a lot of respect for the majority of refs in all sports. The abuse parents hurl at them is insane. I used to play as an adult. One team in our league had such a bad reputation we decided to skip our matches with them. It's just sad how grown-up people can be so detrimental. We just wanted to kick a ball around and then drink a few beers after. No need for spoilage or aggression on or around the field. Especially towards officials. I was 19 at the time and was umpiring a softball game when a parent started yelling abusive language at me for my call. I looked at him and told him to leave the bench area and go to the parking lot. He looked at the head ref, who just laughed, then told him that if a ref throws you out, you are out. The verbal abuse went down from that point in the season, as none of us refs, most of us were 18 or 19, took no verbal harassment after that. If the head ref did not back me, I would have walked out and never stayed refereeing the full season. I love Chads. They peaked in high school and are convinced their glory can return through watching a bunch of 10-year-olds win a $5 trophy between nose-picking sessions. I can't get enough of these stories, TBH. Or they think their kid is going to be the next named star player in sport the kid is playing, and can get vicarious glory that way. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.